did, and they walked the property, and next, I was working here at the time. The next morning, the detectives from the county called and said, hey, look up this video on YouTube, and it was a video on YouTube of a bug attacking the same thing we had, and I was like, oh, run. And they were like, what do you want to charge the bug with? I was like, well, crud.
Destruction of a
Yes, destruction of private property. He's trespassing. I never gave him permission.
Well, I will say something about
Yeah, still.
13 years in there.
Oh, well, yeah, who wants to go out? Cold spring. So your kids are taller. Good, how are you? It's been the same with us. There are people I'm sure I have seen and I would never have recognized, if I stood behind them for 5 minutes at Walmart. It's kind of nice for that. Oh, did you get a list of who was on it?
Pretty much, and we were missing the original. They sent him the second.
I have 7 o'clock, call the meeting to order.
And the new one.
Roll call.
Bennett,
Here.
Clayton,
Here.
Corey, here. Doty,
Here.
Dowdy,
Here.
Friesland, Jaco, here. Mason, here. Purdy, here. Shook,
Here.
Watts, here. Cox.
Here. Got to ask Jeremy Dad if he would do the invocation. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and this evening. We pray, Lord, that we can come together for an effective, productive government evening. We pray your blessings upon this county. We pray your blessings as we approach the holiday seasons, and that we look out for each other, show your love to one another, we pray. In Jesus' name.
Moment of silent reflection, please. Next up is a pledge to the flag. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started, a large gallery, we're not used to this many people showing up to a county board meeting. If you wish to speak, there is a public comment sheet that you can sign in. Approval of the minutes, we'll be approving both sets of minutes simultaneously. Motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes.
And a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been made by Mr. Bennett and seconded by Mr. Shook. Roll call?
Bennett,
Yes.
Clayton,
Yes.
Corey, yes. Doty,
Yes.
Dowdy,
Yes.
Jaco,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Watts, Cox.
Yes. Next on the agenda, I don't believe we have any appointments, is a resolution for the Illinois State's Attorney Appellate Prosecutor contract. This is an annual resolution. The resolution's in the board book. Anybody have any questions or comments?
I do have a question. And actually, my first question is this, this I hadn't thought about asking, is this a template of of a resolution that other state's attorney's offices use, or is this something that we came up with, or is it directly out of the statute?
Well, it's definitely directly out of the statute. I can't say whether we borrowed that. I think it's probably provided by the appellate prosecutor's office. It's been the one we used every year.
Okay. I did have someone ask me about the wording of it, so that's what I'm asking. And the question really was, if you are giving up, if you're contacting a special prosecutor through the appellate, through this resolution, when you recuse yourself or step away, whatever we're calling that language, I think when we look at the language here, definitely your office is helping out because it says that they're helping out. That's part of the statute. And the question is, if you are stepping away from something, how can you communicate, or how can you do, how can the special prosecutor do his or her business without contacting you directly, or do you have direct contact for what time?
I don't. Example was when I was appointed in 2019, I was a prosecutor for a long time, but I was a public defender for a couple of years. And I brought along a large amount, several hundred cases of conflict that I still had pending, because that's the caseload I was carrying at the time. Appellate prosecutor's office came in and handled all of those. The way it's divided is they are allowed by statute to utilize our resources. So that means that they don't have to pay for paper. It's our case, so they would come in and they are allowed to use our forms, documents, but there's no direct communication about the status of the case or the facts of the case. We actually give them the physical file, and they hand it back when the case is completed. Does that answer your question?
Well, so they may be in the office, but the office is helping in, or they're just getting stuff from the office.
I don't know how other counties handle it, but when I wrestled with that issue, and I actually, with the law library downstairs, that was this office space that we gave them. So they weren't operating in my office at all. Conflicts isn't the only thing they do, though. They do, we're about to bring them in for some more, because I'm down to myself and another attorney due to staff losses. They're going to come in and help us with some cases here in January to fill the gap. So it's not just conflicts. They can also operate as an extra arm to the office when needed.
Is this also a salary involved here?
It's a one-time payment. I think, I can't speak for Cook, but I think 101 counties in the state utilize the appellate prosecutor's office. They handle all of our appeals as well. It's a one-time payment every year that we paid for much longer than I've been here. And that covers all of the services in that contract, in that resolution. And it could be, Mr. Shook, it could be various attorneys stepping in. We could have one, we could have 50, I'm exaggerating a little bit. It's not a salary for one person, it's the office. That's our contract fee with them, and they are required to fulfill the duties of the contract.
And we don't know how much per person?
You mean public prosecutors?
Yes.
No, that's not the way it's done. It's just that, you have a resolution, those are the duties that they would fill if we had a need. It can be a lot one year, it can be a little the next year, it just depends, but it's just the going rate. Every county pays the same, so, as far as I know.
And the fee is in the resolution at $17,000. Any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion. Motion? Second? Motion made by Ms. Jaco, seconded by Mr. Dowdy. Roll call.
Bennett,
Yes.
Clayton,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Doty,
Yes.
Dowdy,
Yes.
Jaco,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Watts, Cox.
Yes. Committee reports. Building and grounds.
There was no meeting, and the chairman will now be Bob Bennett.
Very well. Cooperative Extension Board.
There was no meeting.
I think that quarterly, they met December 1st, so March will be the next meeting.
County Office and Rules.
The County Office and Rules Committee was called to order at 4:30 p.m. on December 5th with the following members present: Nancy Purdy, Lisa Jaco, Jeremy Dowdy, Mike Clayton, Denise Corey, Chair. Also attending were George Edwards, Treasurer, Denise Shores, Assessor, Board members Daryl Cox and Gail Mason, and Lisa McMichaels, Administrative Assistant. Under the tax cycle update, Ms. Shores shared with the members that the publication was printed on November 19, 2022, and notices for appeals is December 19, 2022. Ms. Shores also stated her office is short-staffed by 2 employees. Under old business, there was none. Under new business, there was none. No miscellaneous business. And public comment was made by Chad and Heidi Larson, Sarah Hocking, Tyrion Crate, Robert Plush, Brandon Stewart, Keith Thornton, Warren Hamilton, and Gail Mason. The meeting adjourned at 5:38 p.m. on a motion by Ms. Jaco and seconded by Ms. Purdy.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add to those notes, and I don't know what the exact procedure is, but that was an hour and 8-minute meeting. And I just would like to, I don't know whether I just add something written or state something here, but I just would like to add some clarifications for that meeting.
So, it started at 4:30 and it was not over at 5:30?
It started at 4:30 and at 5:38, and the only business noted was that Ms. Shores let us know that the publication was printed on November 19th, appeals December 19th, and that she is short-staffed by 2 employees. But it was an hour-long meeting, and it's my belief also that the meeting minutes don't reflect the meeting content.
I see.
So Jeremy had,
Well, do I just put something in the record, or do I? I'm sorry.
Move to amend the minutes.
Okay, I'd like to move to amend the minutes, or to add to it.
Okay.
yes, sir.
And what would you like?
I can either read some things, or I can just give it to Mrs. McMichael. I can do that. I just was gonna say that on December 5th, that meeting lasted over an hour, and just didn't believe when I read the minutes that they reflected some aspects of the meeting that I would like to know for the record. During this tax cycle update, committee members asked questions regarding quadrennial assessments and how and when they are scheduled or planned. December 12th and 19th, and even on the website as of today, December 20th is a deadline for complaints and appeals, so we have 3 different dates. And so there's confusion for homeowners as what to do, when, and so forth, so we asked some of those questions. And Mrs. Shores gave some we were worried that not all homeowners will understand the 12th deadline is arbitrary, that she stated 19th is the actual deadline. Although on the website, once again, it says the 20th. The committee suggested a press release be written for the newspaper, radio, and website so citizens know the correct deadline. The Supervisor of Assessment's office was never directed to do this. The Supervisor of Assessment also stated there could be another multiplier added back from the state that we must wait and see. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. Clarifications and statements were made several times by members of the Office and Rules Committee that this committee must be careful and not, and I quote, investigate or do any kind of formal inquiry into the Supervisor of Assessments or her office, and there was never any intent to investigate or hold a formal inquiry. We suggested another meeting before the 19th deadline so we could make sure citizens could get relief and help from the Supervisor of Assessment's office, as well as educated on that process. I hold that the intent of a special meeting was to be a problem-solving meeting, and any other characterization I would reject.
I second the amendment of the minutes for the Offices and Rules Committee.
Okay, and you can provide a copy of that to,
Sure.
so we can have it. I'm assuming we can vote on the amended minutes tonight. I guess the first thing we would do would vote on the amendment. to add those to the minutes. So I have a motion by Ms. Corey to add the amendment.
Either way.
Okay, and a second by Ms. Purdy. We'll roll call on the amendment.
Corey and Purdy.
Correct. I'm sorry.
Who was it?
Corey and Purdy.
And you do that when you are the chair of Office
Refer
of
to Mr. Thompson. Mr. Dillon, can the chair make the motion to accept the amendment?
She's,
I'm the
no one
chair
else.
of-
I thought we had two.
I
Okay. We have a motion by Ms. Jaco
Thank you.
and a second by Ms. Purdy to add the amendment.
Okay. Bennett,
Yes.
Clayton,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Doty,
Yes.
Dowdy,
Yes.
Jaco,
Yes.
Gleason,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Cox.
Yes. I assume we'll vote on the, we're voting on the amendment, now we're going to vote on the minutes with the amendments, correct?
Or do we
wait.
accept the minutes next month?
Okay,
Then we accept the,
we can do
this month's minutes.
that. All right, moving on. Where are we
Chairman,
at?
before we move on, I would like to say that I was concerned about the minutes too, and I would agree with everything that Mr. Dowdy said. So, here.
Okay, we're at education. Lisa. It's okay.
We don't meet again until March,
Okay.
so there's a week.
Emergency Food and Shelter Board. Mr.
No
Dowd.
meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Emergency Telephone System, Mr. Shook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had no meeting, but I'm still wanting people to know that we're still having a hard time getting employees for the 911 center. If anybody's involved, would like to help out, you can put your application in at the 911 center, and we would appreciate anybody's help that can help us out. It takes about 2 months to go through the process, but we appreciate the help. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The Finance Committee. The Finance Committee was called to order at 5:44 PM with the following members present: Lisa Jaco, Nancy Purdy, Mike Clayton, Mike Watts, and Darrell Cox, the chairman, presiding. Also attending were board member Denise Corey and Gail Mason, Sheriff Kent Martin, and Chief Deputy Tyler Hyleen from the Sheriff's Office, John Hatfield, Security, and Lisa McMichaels, Administrative Assistant. Treasurer report, nothing to report. Old business. The Mattoon Sports Complex was discussed among the members. A motion was made by Mr. Watts to forward to the county board after being reviewed by the state's attorney. Ms. Jaco seconded. The motion carried unanimously by 5. No nays, no absence. New business, Mr. Hatfield addressed the members regarding a new hire for the security department. The business we put on the next office and rules meeting agenda. No miscellaneous business. The meeting adjourned at 6:15 on a motion by Ms. Purdy and seconded by Mr. Clayton. Health and safety.
I make a motion the minutes be accepted.
We don't have to do that.
You want to do that?
But you can. Well, thank you. You can accept it. The Health and Safety Committee was called to order at 4:34 PM with the following members present: Rick Shook, Jeremy Dowdy, Stan Metzger, and Brandon Bell, Chair. Darrell Cox is unable to attend. Also attending were Jim Helgenberg, EMA Director, Julie Dieters, Care Center, and Lisa McMichaels, Administrative Assistant. The EMA update. Mr. Helgenberg gave the monthly EMA report. The Care Center update. Ms. Dieters gave the September and October reports. The University of Illinois Veterinarian Clinic has resumed duties at the shelter. They are spaying and neutering only sheltered animals at this time. No old business, no new business, miscellaneous business. The EMA coordinator evaluation was completed by the members, and a copy was given to Mr. Hilgenberg. No public comment. The meeting adjourned at 5:07 PM with a motion by Mr. Dowdy and a second by Mr. Shook. Insurance Committee, Nancy Purdy.
There was no meeting.
Liquor Commission, no meeting. Mental Health Board, was there a meeting?
believe there was a meeting, but Ted isn't here.
And the chair of that committee is not here to report. We'll catch up with them next month. Planning and Development, no meeting. Public Health Board, Jeremy Dowdy.
There was not a meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Our Road and Bridge Committee, John Doe.
No meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Senior Citizens Tax Levy Committee, Nancy Burke.
There was no meeting yet. It won't be until sometime next summer or fall. However, they did hold a holiday luncheon today, and it was very nice. Chris Miller, Representative Chris Miller was there in attendance, as were many board members. We were there. We were there. And several people from county offices were there.
Thank you. Sheriff and Law Enforcement Committee, Denise Corey.
December 5th, the Sheriff and Law Enforcement Committee was called to order at 6:17 PM with the following members present: Mike Clayton, Bob Bennett, Gail Mason, and Denise Corey, Chair. Rick Shook was unable to attend. Also attending were Sheriff Kent Martin, Chief Deputy Tyler Helene, and Board Member Nancy Purdy. We reviewed the monthly reports as we do each time we meet. Sheriff Martin and Chief Deputy Helene reviewed the November report with the members. It's attached in your board book. Discussion followed. It was the wrap-up of the fiscal year. In old business, Sheriff Martin and Chief Deputy Helene discussed the staffing and updated the committee. Currently, the department is down 3 employees. 14 are on patrol, and 1 employee will be going to the academy. In new business, Sheriff Martin explained the Lexipol system and the need to have it implemented in the department. Discussion followed. There was no miscellaneous business and no public comment, and the meeting adjourned at 6:59 by motion by Mr. Clayton and seconded by Mr. Bennett.
Thank you. Supplies and Claims, Bob Bennett.
Mr. Chairman, the members of the Supplies and Claims reviewed the bills and approved them to be paid.
And you so move?
I so move.
Okay. Need a second? Second. Moved by Mr. Bennett, second by Mr. Doty. Roll call.
Bennett,
Yes.
Clayton,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Doty,
Yes.
Dowdy,
Yes.
Jaco,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Lutz,
Yes.
Cox.
Yes. WIOA Committee, Nancy Purdy.
The Workforce Investment Opportunities Act Board met last night in Effingham. I will have a better report in January for you at the meeting. Basically, employment is something that everybody is struggling with. We did have training last night because we had so many new members from county boards in the 13 county area that they did provide new training for what we need to know about WIOA and how we can help in our communities. So I would like to have a more lengthy report then in January on that. I'd like to take this time, when I was talking about the senior center, Kim, are you here? I would like to introduce Kim Edwards. She is the new director of Coles County Council on Aging.
Hi. I just have some business cards. I just wanted to come up and introduce myself to the board. I didn't know it was going to be such a busy night tonight, so thank you for starting with me. But I met with Nancy, and I hope to meet with a lot of you. I'm sure we'll be doing some projects in the future, and I'll be working with you this summer. So if you guys just pass these out. I just wanted you to put a name with a face. You'll be seeing a lot of me. So I know sitting in these seats sometimes it's a thankless job. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you. And I fortunately get to see a lot of the good work that you do. So I'll be working with you all in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for your first successful holiday luncheon.
Yes.
That was great.
It was good. Thank you so much.
Old business. On the agenda, there's to amend the minutes of May 10th, 2022, the resolution and officer salaries. I'm assuming do you have a copy or have you seen, looked at the minutes or in your board book? Basically, we're removing a sentence. The old resolution stated that the compensation to be paid by the county board member shall be computed on an annual basis. Said compensation to include mileage and expenses. Said compensation shall include optional health insurance pursuant to 55 ILCS 5/5-1069. The amended version strikes that last sentence and only states that the compensation to be paid to the county board member shall be computed on an annual basis. Said compensation to include mileage and expenses. Any discussion?
Point of order. Can't do it. I asked for a point of order on this for public discussion. I was at the meeting.
The motion failed, you can't change minutes after the fact.
You'll be allowed during your 30-second.
30 seconds.
30-minute comments to bring that up.
After you vote on it illegally,
Trying to prevent you from committing a crime.
you can't do it. It's illegal. You can't do it.
You can't amend minutes
Do it.
that have already been approved.
We can amend minutes, and we're doing this on the advice and consent, or advice of the Coles County State's Attorney.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the amendment.
I have a motion. Second. Motion by Mr. Bennett, a second by Mr. Clayton.
Unbelievable.
Roll call.
Bennett,
Yes.
Clayton,
Yes.
Corey,
No.
Doty,
No.
Dowdy,
Yes.
Jacob,
No.
Mason,
Unbelievable.
Can't hear you.
I'm going to abstain, just because I feel like I don't have enough information, and conversation didn't last long enough.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Watts,
No.
Cox.
Yes. Just for clarification, 6-4? Yes.
6 yes, 4 no, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Any new business? Miscellaneous business?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say something before public comment starts. I just want to read something. I began receiving emails, texts, and phone calls on November 18th of 2022 regarding the Lafayette Township tax assessments. I quickly became concerned as they seemed wildly inflated. I was invited to 2 town hall or neighborhood meetings to listen to residents of my district tell their stories, ask questions, try to educate themselves on the process, and seek help from their friends and neighbors. Since that time, a second assessment or correction was sent out with a sooner deadline of appeal on December 12th. This was on the Board of Review letterhead. The first assessment had a deadline of December 19th. Mrs. Shores explained that this is an arbitrary deadline and the 19th is a true deadline. I believe she said that in trying to help. I do have concerns. 1, that there are questions about the quadrennial process. 2, why so many inflated amounts? I give one example that has come to me several times. People bought a home for $325,000 in 2018. Their taxes were assessed at round numbers, $590,000. Corrected was $532,000, and after paying $500 for an appraisal, the home was worth by a certified appraiser at $400,000. And that's, seems to me to be, that's $190,000 more. I had just had concerns for some of our citizens having to prove that they don't have houses worth $200,000 more. I know there are examples where the opposite is true, where people were underassessed and so forth. I don't believe that it is that way for every single person, but for a large majority of the cases that I have and the examples that have come to me by text, by meeting people, by talking to people. My understanding is that there have been over 300 appeals, and many of those seemingly to be unnecessary. Supervisor of Assessment's office has been very accommodating and friendly to help the citizenry accord to reports from many of the people to correct these. I applaud them and thank them for that. However, I hate that we are in this mess in the first place. For 4 years, I've sat here and listened to grieved and frustrated citizens that went through something similar under a different administration in the Supervisor of Assessment's office, as well as a different board. And I'm in shock that it has happened again. It seems to be a systemic issue. My goal is to be solution-based and ensure fidelity in the process. Something is broken. People are losing faith in the process, and I believe as a board we should listen and respond to people as well as collaborate for an effective and efficient solution. I don't know how we do that within the purview of the law and statutes, but I think we can figure that out in weeks and months to come. I want to appeal to residents and homeowners to inquire about your taxes if you are worried. Call the Supervisor of Assessment's office if you have questions. They have been very responsive, from my understanding. Follow the process outlined on the website and meet deadlines. This is your best avenue for help. Lastly, I'd like to apologize, and many of my residents are here, to District 4, Lafayette Township, and specifically the neighborhoods of Sugar Creek, Marksboro, Stonehenge, and Lafayette. Many of you have lost sleep, money, holiday family time, regular family time, and much energy because of this. I am sorry this has happened to you and your families. I have had no one be disrespectful or unreasonable during this whole situation. No one has tried to get out of paying taxes or their fair share. You have been extremely reasonable. I thank you for your decorum and professionalism with me. My hope and prayer is that all of this is rectified within the timelines and this never happens to Coles County again.
No reason for executive session. We have 7 people have signed up for public comment. Is that the only sheet that you have?
You might talk a little louder, see if there's anybody on there. I don't know.
Is there anybody that's calling in regarding public comment? Well, we'll go through this and we'll see if anybody's called in. Mr. Allen, before you start, I do want to reiterate public comment for any person restricted to 3 minutes. And total time for public comment is restricted to 30 minutes. Looks like we'll not have to extend
So we're going
that.
to follow the rules when it comes to the citizen speaking, but not when it comes to your salary and compensation. That's how it works. Special treatment for the elected officials, but not for the people. Just clarifying. Just clarifying.
Mr. Donasso, you're out of order.
No, I'm not out of order. You're out
Mr.
of order.
Allen is up to speed. Please don't intrude on his.
I'm not intruding on his time.
Mr. Allen.
Thank you. I raised this at the last meeting. I don't see it on your agenda. I'll raise it again. 55 ILCS 5/2-1001, Section 2-1001. Last paragraph. At each regular and special meeting which is open to the public, members of the public and employees of the county shall be afforded time, subject to reasonable constraints, to comment to or ask questions of the board. Are you going to put a time on your agenda for the county code portion of the public's time to ask questions? It's not on there. The people have a right, and it's separate and distinct from the Open Meetings Act public comment portion. On to my next comment. Ms. Purdy, with all due respect, if you don't mind answering, did you receive my email?
I did.
Thank you. I haven't received a response, so I brought the documents, and I was going to give them to you, but since the media's here, I think I'm going to give them copies, and I'll email you the copies. This is page 7 of appeal of your county chairman to keep his job. This is from the courts, and I'll paraphrase some of this because I don't have enough time to read it all. that the courts pointed out while attempting to cover up for his inexcusable actions that night. There was evidence to support the commission's findings. Various rules were violated by plaintiff, which he was the plaintiff. These violations are not simply part of the violation of sick leave policy. There is an attempt to cover it up, and the abuse was flaunted in public. Interestingly, there is another separate violation which may have occurred the same evening with the commission, found not proved, but plaintiff now appears to admit. Originally, the sheriff complained against alleged plaintiff violated Rule of Conduct 22, which prohibits consumption of alcohol beverages within 8 hours prior to beginning a shift. Plaintiff denied this charge at the hearing before the commission, and the evidence on the subject was conflicting. However, in his brief written for his appeal, plaintiff states the trigger event for this entire matter was his decision to go to the place and consume alcohol in the presence of others who knew he was scheduled for duty. Plaintiff argues spending an evening drinking in a bar may have been an unfortunate choice of things to do while too ill to perform his duties as sheriff deputy, but a choice which was not spelled out as forbidden in the contract. We find this choice to be implausible rather than unfortunate, as anyone too ill to go to work would also be too ill to spend approximately 6 hours in a tavern. 2 pages of transcript, quote, under oath, I drank water and lemon the whole night and it was served to me in a beer glass. That's inconsistent with the appeal where he acknowledged drinking. I was tired, I had muscle aches, I didn't believe I could perform my duties. The whole reading is quite interesting. This is a copy of the gunsmithing invoices to the county. This is a copy of the disciplinary action. And I'll quote, because there's a lot of lies going around what really happened there. This reporting officer turned to see Cox grab Baker's right breast. Baker immediately turned and hit Cox. And it goes on to explain what that deputy did after she was grabbed. Very telling information. This is a stack of 20 pages of court orders. The court orders are on the disposition of guns. And at the bottom I've highlighted on each of those pages what the court said to do. Dispose of, dispose of, dispose of, dispose of. There's a few that they were allowed to be put into service within the sheriff's department. You sold them in violation of court orders. That's undisputed. And the kicker, the state police investigated it and confirmed there were violations of law, and they took it to your state's attorney, the very judge that swore you people in, but you were running for state rep. And we were told by the state police, the state's attorney's going to send a memo out. We were told that months before the election. And I asked your state's attorney at that time, Mr. Bauer, where's the memo? He denied it existed. 3 days after the election, he sends out the memo. You can't do it. It's illegal. 3 days after the election. How special. And then tonight, of all things, you amend a resolution that failed. You amend minutes that outline a resolution that failed. You took the insurance out of the minutes, or out of the resolution. Doesn't change anything, because you still failed the resolution to adopt any compensation. And if you folks truly are going to go that route, we are helping fund the lawsuit to hold you folks accountable, because it has to stop. It absolutely has to stop. And I'm sorry for the board members that are new, that you're not going to get compensated, but I can tell you this is going to go to court. Because there comes a point in time where you have to follow the law. You folks are doing things that the law says you can't, in our opinion, and many other attorneys. And I know you did it with advice and consent of your attorneys. But I don't hear people asking key questions about this stuff.
Mr. Allen, I've given you over 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Norm, if you could, in the past, they let everybody know 30 seconds left. That'd be appreciated.
Sure. Mr. Perry.
Thanks for all of you to come tonight. I appreciate it. I've been 8 years talking about what's going on, and finally we're getting somewhere, I hope. I want to talk about a couple of things, and this is informative because I don't think most of the people sitting around the board here know just exactly what goes on in the tax cycle or the tax assessor's office. So I've been looking at some things I've seen in the new forms that are coming out with the new assessments, and this is going to be wordy, but you're going to have to go with me. There's a publication called Publication 123. This is from the Department of Revenue. And what this is a guide for our assessor. This is just a guide. But what it includes is all the scales and the residential schedules for property. What it does, it's a Marshall and Swift. Marshall and Swift is the people that make the publications up and the numbers. That's where they come from. So what happens is we've got a new system, and it's called a CAMA system is what she's using. What happens on this per square foot price? I'm going to read you. This is a one-story first floor. This is one-story first floor. And it says base cost, we're talking about per square foot price, and it's done with groups. And I'll show you everything if somebody doesn't understand what I'm talking about. But base cost includes standard design from stock plans and average material and workmanship. The following features are included: a kitchen, water heater, one full bath, hot air heat, gas fired, central air conditioning, asphalt fiberglass shingles, painted drywall interior, and a slab foundation, i.e. no basement. So this is in the book. And I also have with me a copy of the new thing. This is a house here in Mattoon. And what it is a brand new breakdown for the sheet. Things have changed. And I'll stop and I'll talk about bathrooms or water fixtures in your house. With the way that it's done with the revenue, there's 5 of them included. You heard me read. There's 5 of them included. With the new way we're doing it, there's none included. There's a base cost for the place, and now we're charging different prices. This is the other thing that's wrong. People out in the Marksboro area, they're paying up to $2,400 to $2,600 for a fixture. I live in Lake Paradise, and I'm paying $1,600 for a fixture. People over in Charleston, they're getting $1,300 a fixture. Now, I don't understand why, but there's too much variation. The state book says $930 for anything over 5. So I'm wondering why we're paying so much for fixtures. That's an add-on. The other thing is, you heard me say about asphalt shingles. Shingles are $3.25 on this new sheet that we've got now, what they're using. $3.25 a foot. They're already included in the 5 fixtures and the base cost, okay? So these things are add-ons now. So I took the house. Now I'll try to be brief.
You got 30 seconds.
Well, can't get through it all in 30 seconds. I took the house and ran this house with the numbers out of this book as close as I could get. This house was $121,599. The house is 60 years old. This is the new thing. But when I run the numbers with what I got out of the book, the house is without the ground was $62,000. So we've seen taxes double.
Mr. Perry, your 3 minutes are up. I'm going to give you an extra minute.
Well, thank you. All I'm trying to say is we don't know what's being inputted at all at the Supervisor of Assessments office. We don't have any idea. It's the same argument that we had back in 2016 about commercial property, because we were told it was secret then. That's part of the court case, okay? We've got the same thing. We don't have any knowledge of what the numbers are. All I'm asking is for you, as a group, to get involved now. You're here, you're hearing the complaints. You see the folks are here. They're not here because they want to be here. They're here because they want things fixed. And it's time to fix it. I'm willing, but we asked this 3 years ago, why you don't come together with a group of people, get the appraisers involved, get the people that are selling the real estate involved, get the business peoples involved, get a group of people to figure out what the hell's wrong, because it's not right. And it's not going to get any better. And I'll tell you why it's not going to get any better, because this lady that brought me this, I'm sorry, this is important.
Look,
It's important. I'll shut
if I
up.
give you extra time, then we have rules for a reason.
I don't care. This is really...
No. Let's not talk about rules. You violate rules. No, you don't violate enforcement on us.
Let me finish. Please let me finish.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead and give him his time, but my point is, we have rules, and I would like to stick to the rules if I could. I don't like making
Only
exceptions.
the rules that apply to, the rules that apply to us, don't apply to them. Come on.
I am.
The rules don't.
I am.
I got 8 years invested in here because of the stupid that's going on. How do you like that? 8 years I've been here.
Look,
Every single board meeting we've been at, going through this garbage.
we're not yelling, we're not screaming, calm down.
The
I'm
lady-
gonna give you your time.
the
I'm
lady
just
got
asking you to be
reassessed.
civil.
I'll finish
Can
now.
you do that? Can you
I'll
please
finish.
do that? Will you finish?
Just let the man finish.
The lady got reassessed. And I don't even know where the house is at. Her other neighbors around her didn't get reassessed. They're on the old thing, okay? So what we've got is inequality. We're supposed to have equalization. You can't raise somebody with a new assessment on somebody and let the neighbors not have it. You're just making things worse. So it's time that you do something. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, I'm angry. 8 years of my life I've been coming here, and we have not missed a board meeting, okay? And we've put $40,000 of our own personal wealth into lawsuits because they won't follow the law. Classic example of what goes on here month after month. Just what they did with the resolution, okay? Illegal, but they're going to do it, and they're going to force us now to file a lawsuit to try to get them to follow the rules. Not everybody here, and it wasn't all past administration, because some of you have been here for as long as I've been here. The whole board hasn't turned over. And it's very aggravating, because I've been coming here talking about this tax issue. You want to talk about solutions, I appreciate what you said, Mr. Dowdy, but you know what? It's got to go farther than just lip service. You need to clean house, and that's Supervisor Assessment's office. I was the one who suggested 3 years ago that we form a committee and get all the people that Rob talked about, and you guys shot it down. No, you don't want to do it. We've offered solutions, and you forced us to file lawsuits, and we're still in lawsuits. By the way, we have depositions coming January 17th for this board. And we're going to see who lies, and we're going to see who tells the truth, okay? Because we got all the evidence on our side. I'm going to talk about the taxes, okay? Because I've got some figures here. I was sitting in someone's office today. They bought a property last year. The property was bought, I believe, in April of last year for $760,000. Okay, that's the market value. It was reassessed at over $1,048,000. Okay, reassessed. I looked at the property number on the sales ratio sheet that was sent into the state, and the property number does not coincide. It coincides with one property when there was actually 3 properties that sold for that amount of money. And that was also used as a comp to determine assessed values of other commercial properties in Charleston Township. So we got either a mistake or we need clarification, and we don't get answers, but yet we got this December 19th deadline to get everything done during the holidays. Not one of you will be allowed to go in front of the Board of Review if you're 1 day late than the 19th. But they can go back, okay, and redo minutes of a resolution illegally because they made a mistake. But you as the public aren't going to be able to get breaks because you can't come up with the money now to pay double the amount of taxes. They're not going to give you a break. They're going to sell your taxes. And that's exactly what they'll do. They don't care about you. This is why local elections are very important. We need to clean house. And stop worrying about what's happening in Washington, D.C. all the time, and start paying attention to your school boards, your county boards, and all the other boards that go on around, because these are the people that take your money and enforce or don't enforce the law. They're the ones that affect your life the most. And Mr. Danley, I'm sorry, I supported you. We worked next door to each other over there, although I didn't know you well. I supported you. I gave recommendations to you when you were going for the board here, when the board recommended you be appointed when Judge Bauer left. I did. And I had high hopes. I even spoke with you one-on-one about this. Just because a state's attorney gives you legal advice doesn't mean, number one, it's legally binding, okay? And number two, it doesn't mean it's correct. I would like some balance here. If you think what you did, we're telling you what you're doing is illegal, you're saying it's totally fine, let's get some outside opinions here. Let's find out who's right. Why do we consistently have to file court cases against you and spend money and run this off? You're eroding the public trust when you do this. and you don't allow any questions, you go ahead and vote and say, well, we'll save it for public comment. That's ex post facto. We want to talk about it when you're voting on it. We want to be able to voice our opinions, and doesn't the county code allow us to do that? We're supposed to allow us to do it, but we can't. We come here and we got to be quiet, we get shoved down our throat, and so, yeah, over 8 years of this, I'm angry. I'm very angry. And I don't apologize for my anger because I think it's just anger. This has got to stop. After 8 years, it's got to stop. You guys are doing irreparable damage to this county. No business is going to come here paying those kinds of taxes. No way could I charge my tenants in my building enough to cover those kinds of taxes if my assessment doubled. Where do you think this money comes from? The poorest people are going to wind up trying to pay the bills. You're going to have people not fixing up their buildings, no businesses come here, and people outward migration out of this county. Is that what you want? If you don't want that, then you need to work with the people. Thank you.
I'll let you comment at the end. Mr. Stodden.
Well, there's a lot of people here tonight who want to talk. I think I'll just yield my time for a little more discussion to Mr. Donato if he wants to say anything else.
I only say this. I'm making an appeal to this board. Jeremy, you stated some things that were good. That was good to hear that after 8 years, because I haven't heard a board member say anything like that. What I'm going to suggest is, and I'd love to hear the public comment, that we form a committee, and the committee made up of the public at large, representatives of the public at large, someone from the state's attorney, or sorry, the supervisor assessment's office, the real estate businesses in town, financial institutions in town, appraisers in town, assessors in town, and we get together and figure out how we can make Coles County better instead of coming and filing lawsuits all the time and creating animosity between us. This has got to stop. Everyone's digging in, and no one has any solutions. Let me ask you this much. I'm not picking on you, but you've been here since I've been here, the whole time.
Oh, I haven't missed one either.
Well, I know. I'm not saying you have. No, that's good. That's good. But you're getting paid to be here. I'm not. You're getting paid. I don't get paid. Okay? And here's the deal. Hold on. You've been here. What solutions have you come up with? You've heard us speak for 8 years. What solutions or suggestions have you ever come up with us? And I would ask that not just to you, I'd ask it to the whole board, because I haven't heard any of them.
Well,
what are they?
We got Denise involved now. We didn't before.
Denise
is doing the right thing. Okay? So, you know, obviously, you folks are upset about it.
Really?
And, yeah.
But Kelly, I thought Kelly was trying to clean up the office, and you guys got rid of her.
Don't say you guys, I didn't.
Who oversees the supervisor of assessments?
No, I didn't do anything.
You didn't do anything. Well, that's part of the problem.
That's part of the problem. I don't do anything like that, I said, like that.
You guys are the county board. You oversee
So you're saying
the county
Denise is
department.
wrong?
I'm saying that there's problems that need There's problems that need to be addressed, and if you just try to shove it down their throat by the 19th, you're going to have a lot of PO'd people here, and it's not going to bode well for you. That's what I'm saying. We need solutions, and so I'd like every county board meeting member for the next meeting, as an appeal from the public, if I may speak for you, to come up with a solution to the problem instead of forcing us to file lawsuits for this very tax problem we have in Coles County. Come up with one suggestion, each one of you, to start fixing the problem instead of just sitting there and listening and blocking us out every time we come. Thank you.
Ms. Sarah Hawk.
Thank you. I am, as you said, Sarah Hocking, and I have been an employee of this county, and I have been a resident of this county, a resident for 20 years. I'm an attorney here. I live in Sugar Creek. I'm proud to live there with my neighbors in Sugar Creek and Stonehenge and Lafayette Greens and all the folks that are out there. And I am astonished at how incorrect the assessments are on every single level.
And I don't understand it. So the 4 levels of appeals that we have, the things we can argue are wrong with the assessment are fair market value is greater than the actual market value. She assessed my house at over $500,000 in rural Coles County, a 1-story house, but she made it 2 stories. She made my 1-story house a 2-story house. She added to my basement. I guarantee during COVID, I was here working in this courtroom. I wasn't digging a second basement, but somehow that got added on too. Over $200,000 in inaccuracies to my property alone. Okay? And I'm angry. I'm angry about that because I got kids to put through college. There's about 108 neighbors that I am aware of generally who were individually targeted for reassessment out in the Lafayette Township. In the Sugar Creek, Marksboro, Stonehenge, Lafayette Greens area, okay? And we were told that they're not going to take just any evidence. They're not going to take the appraisal that I had done. The bank paid for when I refinanced my house in 2019 because it's too old, despite the fact that the appraisal time period that Ms. Shores used was 2019, 2020, and 2021. So I forked out $500 to get a new appraisal. If 100 of my neighbors did that, $50,000 that we've paid on appraisals. In addition, we pleaded to Ms. Shores to recognize and acknowledge the gross inaccuracies in this appraisal that was thrown together beginning on October 4th of this year. She had from January 1, and she knew this was a quad year for our township, but she started it on October 4. We have this based on FOIA records that I got. One email that she sent me where it was the day after she was clearly chapped because money had to be given back to one of our neighbors. And she made it clear to our neighbor that, well, you get your money back here, but now I'm coming for your neighbors too.
Exactly.
I mean, what is this? This is ridiculous.
She said that to you?
It's in an email. No, she didn't say it to me. But you'll hear from the person I imagine who will say it. I don't need to speak for others. I just need to speak for myself here. But that's not how you do it. You're supposed to do the entire quad. So it should have been all of Lafayette Township or none of it. We should have all got the 11%. We should have all got the 11%, or everybody should have been invited to this party where some folks were reassessed at 120% increase. And the excuses that we get, because that's as close as I can figure what they are, is that, well, COVID brought in all kinds of money. And there was a time period where nobody could get out and buy a house, so now they went out and bought all the houses. Well, I didn't get any COVID money, but I worked, so I got paid. But, and I'm thankful for that. And I want to pay my fair share of taxes. What I don't want to pay is an unfair share of taxes. So the other argument here, other than the gross inaccuracies of this thrown together reassessment, that the township assessor responded to Ms. Shores and told her, we don't have time to do a special project like that. He was having his shoulder operated on. He was refurbishing his office. There was no time for them to come out and do the reassessments. She did it anyway based on aerial photos. You're going to tell me an aerial photo is showing an expansion in my basement? And she added 5 additional plumbing fixtures. I'd like to know what aerial photos are showing my plumbing fixtures. And by the way, plumbing fixtures I don't have. At the rate of $2,694.64 per fixture for $13,473.20. It just keeps adding up. The other issue is a constitutional issue. It is clear from prior case law, if you are going to reassess in a quad year, you do the whole quad, and you don't pick and choose who you like and who you don't like.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you. Chair, that was good. Is it me? Sarah, that's going to be a really tough act to follow. Sure, I cannot believe you just said that.
Said what?
About Miss Shores. That's why we hired her. I'm going to repeat again today, so I want you to listen. I want you to listen to me very carefully, my story again, okay?
I heard your story.
All right. My question to you, the county board. Who is responsible for Denise Shores? Who is responsible for the conduct of Denise Shores? This is a simple question, Mr. Cox, right? It's an organizational question. She is hired by the county board. Who is responsible for Denise Shores?
Exactly.
Now, I'm going to share my story yet again. I have given everyone on the board a copy of our timeline. What we have gone through in the last 4 months. You have received this, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so last year, we were increased 83%. And we didn't find out until we opened our taxes. We did not get a letter of reassessment. It was lost in the mail, something. We were doing a runaround for weeks. Had to talk to Rex, only to find out that the assessment supervisor, Denise Shores, had changed our property based on an anonymous letter. An anonymous letter. So I said, I would like a copy of that anonymous letter.
I would too.
Great. She destroyed it illegally.
Yes.
And that is why I'm asking who is responsible for the conduct of Denise Shores. I am saying she committed a crime destroying a document.
Exactly. Yes.
And I've appealed to the board. So I do want this answer today. So we continue down this path. She's lied to me. She's lied to you. She's lied to you in public meetings. I have FOIA. FOIA number 1, like a copy of that document. It's been destroyed. FOIA number 2, what state agency authorized the destruction of that document? None. FOIA number 3, who physically destroyed the document? When did they destroy it, and were there witnesses? Oh, wait a minute. It might not have been an anonymous document. It wasn't an anonymous letter anymore. It was maybe a phone tip that she targeted me. So let's keep going down my story. Follow the timeline. We were invited by the, I said, policy and procedures, what is it, office meeting?
County Office and Rules Committee.
Yeah. Hey, we need a policy against anonymous letters. We can't let this happen again. So Heidi actively participated in that, October 3rd. And I don't want this to ever happen to anyone else. So Heidi comes to the meeting. Ms. Shores produces an Excel spreadsheet that says, I'm coming after these properties. Your neighborhoods are underassessed. Gives us a copy of that spreadsheet. We took it very much as a threat against our neighbors. So what do? We have a meeting following our HOA meeting for Sugar Creek. We invite our neighbors to come and we say, listen, I'm concerned that she's going to go after our neighborhoods to target us. I was right. I was absolutely right. That's the conduct that I want to know who's responsible for. All right, now let me introduce this point. That was October 3rd. She said she's going after our subdivision. That was her statement in that meeting. October 4th, she asked Rex Barnes, hey, what do you think about me reassessing these subdivisions? Rex Barnes says, I'm too busy. I don't have time for this special case. Too large of a project. Denise says, I'll do it anyway, based on aerials. October 5th. Then stands in front of all you in our meeting and says, I'm just one person, I don't have time to do everybody. She started October 5th, after they refunded my taxes for last year. Piece it together. So again, let me ask this in a different word. Who's liable for Denise Shores? When this all started, I said, if I I have to pay $500 for an appraisal of my own money because of someone's abuse of power and targeting me, if I have to do that, I'll pay for a lawyer, and I have.
Good deal.
And so there's a lot of other people in this room. Please, I expect an answer from my elected county board. Who is responsible for Denise Shores? Thank you.
I'm unable to read the last name on this.
This is me. My hand tonight isn't working, sorry. It's Kevin Gaither. Thank you all so much. Yeah, it's kind of like you went to a party and some people have been there for a while and they've been like, you just go to Bob's for apples and like somebody's like put some awful stuff in the water or something. Yeah, it's like foul. But you all got the good apples, so we all have the rotten apples left over to chow down on. And it's a tough job to do this, especially when you start out with this new county board on such a horrible footing. And I'll tell you, the minutes, thank you too for setting some of the records straight in that rules committee, because there's nothing in the minutes. If you go, you can't even get the minutes for any of these committee things. You have to go. If you want to know what's going on in this county board, you've got to go to the committee meetings. I was the only one to go to so many of these committee meetings, and that's where all the meat happens because it's already decided before they get here. Now I'll tell you, there's some of these folks who really do have an open mind. They do. They're good people. And it's a really hard thing to have people come at you with, with work and sense about having, sure seems like corrupt retaliation. I mean, gosh, I'm sure as well, it's like we got 4 times the utility bills coming across the county, right? That's coming like literally in January. That's going to kill everybody. And then you're going to have all this for all these property owners. And out of spite, it seems, there's something wrong with that. People deserve much better. And to go and start this, I mean, I tell you, I was there May 10th when you all, passed on it. And I told you at the end of that meeting that you needed to go and look at what you just done, because you were going to regret it. And, well, you'll probably get away with it or something. I can't wait to look through all the codes and find out the one little nook and cranny that, that this can hide in. So, these FOIAs, right? Yeah, you can FOIA all you want, but if there's nothing in the minutes, what can you read about what they're doing? There's just nothing. There's literally nothing. So you can record at public hearings. You can record, and if you don't, there's no record of any of it, right? And so we have to bind together as a community and as a board, right? To make sure that we move the community forward, because it's very difficult to do it. And I'm really very concerned in like 15, 20 years, this community is not going to be anything like it is now. And none of our communities are. We are on life support. Think about the age of the people that have all the money, all the capital. We're all about to have all of it spent in the next 5 years. And it'll be gone, and these things will be shells. Every single community will be a shell. Just the demographics. And we're not building the water resources necessary. We're not building the infrastructure resources that are necessary to build and make people want to stay here when they grow up. And if you go out anywhere, there's just a deadness in it.
Mr. Gaither, I've given you the same amount of time as the others.
Well, I appreciate the time, and I appreciate you all giving it your effort, man. This is a tough way to start. So I hope we all stick with it. And yeah, the committee hearings, that's where it's at. And please try to put some stuff in the minutes. Okay, thank you.
Alan had his hand up earlier, I'll let him go.
Just real quick, and I do appreciate the extra time, and I appreciate you letting everybody have some extra time, because I think it's important for the people to get answers. I would ask that the county board ask for, and you have the power to do this, it's in your powers and duties, it's in the powers and duties of the state's attorney, ask for a written legal opinion on the legality of amending minutes that are true and accurate to now be inaccurate. I would love to see a written opinion on that, because they're not accurate. They were accurate, and now they're not. And the video proves they were accurate. The video proves that motion failed. And what you did tonight changed what actually happened to something that didn't happen. And I would love to see a written opinion on that. Thank you.
Just for a matter of record, did you actually thank me for something?
And in all fairness, Mr. Cox, if I'm wrong, I'll stand before God and country and say I'm wrong, and I will also acknowledge when things are done right.
Okay.
And I do appreciate when they are done right, I really do. But I also expect uniformity across the board.
Mr. Perry, last but not least.
Sit down. First and foremost, thank the board for listening tonight. I think we've made some ground. What I'd like to see happen now is a commitment from the board to step forward now and look into what we can do to fix it. Because it doesn't do any good to come over here and holler and scream about things if we don't find a solution. So I'd like a commitment from the board, and I think that the other thing is we ought to put this thing on hold until we know what we're doing, because this is lawsuit after lawsuit, $500 here, $500 there. Makes no sense. So can I get a commitment from the board to do something or not? Will you work? Will you work towards an end and making it better?
Vote now.
Second the motion.
It's not on the agenda.
Vote now.
Mr. Perry, I can't speak for the board, but this is not a one and done for me. I think there's a process issue, and I sit on the County Office of Rules Committee, and I, for one, will be asking questions about the process.
I think we got to get into the guts of what we're doing, and that means you're going to have to educate yourself on what's going on and understand the numbers and where they come from, because I think there's some problems with those. That's why these numbers are like they are. So we got to fix it. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Dukeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to touch on the question this gentleman over here asked, and that was who actually does have power over Denise Shores and the Supervisor Assessment's Office. Can we get an answer to that tonight? Because I think everybody would like to know that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. State's Attorney, I believe that the county board hires the supervisor assessments. There's also a limited, I guess our involvement with her job is very limited.
Why?
There's a case, there's case law that we can't meddle in her assessment work.
Rex, I can answer that directly if you like.
I'm sorry?
I can answer that directly. And I'll read from Westlaw's synopsis of that definition. County Board Authority is how it's titled. County Board has both executive and legislative functions in its relationship to county officers, including the supervisor of assessments. It has power and responsibility to create salary classifications of general applicability for all county offices, elected or appointed, to the extent that it can require certain proficiencies for clerks and deputies by establishing salary schedules, may establish hours of work and other general guidelines and conditions of employment, but cannot adopt organizational charts and job classifications, the effect of which is to divest the supervisor of assessments of duties and functions vested in him or her by law enacted by the General Assembly, nor may county board perform his or her duties or direct the manner. I think there's actually a draft letter in Westlaw in which they are executed. So I think that is specifically on point of who has authority over supervisor assessments.
I do have one other comment. I would like to see the board, as soon as possible, call a special meeting to take some type of action before December 19th, which actually, if you did it by law, I think have to happen pretty quick, because they get a 48-hour notice, I believe. So maybe there could be a special meeting called to discuss and get Mrs. Shores in, and maybe we can get some answers, and maybe we could have another special meeting, next week. All of us come back. And another thing I'd like to happen is that we'd have all of our committee meetings on one night every month. Start at 6 o'clock, everybody come, committee meetings, get it all aired out, and then we have our board meeting after that. Then all the public could actually come, attend the meetings, and all the board members could be there also. And they'd know what was going on whenever things are presented to them to vote, what they're actually voting on. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, announcement of appointments, there are none.
Any other public comment?
I have no remarks, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Dowdy, a second by Mr. Doty. We're adjourned.